You said something in a podcast recently that working hard is the worst advice you can get. You don't want to make money by being talented or working hard. Can you explain?
Heinlein had a quote. He said, you don't win wars by dying for your country. You win wars by making the other guy die for his country. You could also say, I don't want to be a martyr. I want to be a winner. You could also say, better to work smart, not hard. You could also imagine, do you want to be the dude, the 6'6" tall, 300-pound Hercules with a shovel? Or do you want to be, the ordinary person with a forklift? And the moral of John Henry, if you remember, John Henry was the strongest worker on the railroad, and he worked himself to death and his heart burst. And at some point, don't try to outwork a forklift. So, and you look at the modern era right now, you want to work smart, not hard. I've worked hard. I've worked 3,000 hours a year, 10 years in a row, done everything possible, and I have beat my head against the wall and made no progress. So I've lived it, and you want to do it, go take a shovel and start digging ditches, and don't get a Caterpillar tractor and don't use machines. You can just start walking across the country right now too, instead of using a car. It's like, I guess I would say, don't run fast, drive your car, right? And today the issue is the AIs can compose Shakespearean sonnets and poetry. Like, you can go back to school and you're a podcaster, right? So you want to be successful in China and Japan. And do you speak Japanese? Do you speak Chinese? What if you said to me, Mike, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to learn to speak fluent Chinese. I'm going to learn to speak fluent Japanese. And every time I do a podcast, I'm going to do it 3 times over, and I'm going to dub it in Chinese and Japanese. It'll take me about 10 years, and it's going to cost me like $500,000. But I want to actually distribute it in Japan and China. Mm. And I would say, the AIs can translate this to Japanese in like split second, and they can also translate it to Chinese. And you can actually create a routine that will cause the AI to take this and translate it to Portuguese, Spanish, French, German, Japanese, Chinese, Russian, Ukrainian, the British dialect, everything you want. And I'm like, but you go ahead and go back to school and like learn to speak, because that's just working hard. Boy, it'd be very impressive if at your age you mastered 10 languages. I'd be impressed, but I don't think it's a good business decision. It's just like the AIs can, you got a book. Everybody's like, I'm going to write a book. Guess what? The AIs will write the book for you. The AIs will write the book. The AIs will write the book in 100 languages. Okay, it is not a differentiating contribution to the civilization anymore. You could literally give me any topic, and I could go to my AI and I could say, take this 1 paragraph prompt and write a 10-chapter book in 100 languages. I'll be back. Click, and I could walk away. So there's a lot of content. Look, Voltaire was the greatest thinker, right, of his age, the age of Voltaire. Will Durant literally named the book about the 1700s, the age of Voltaire. And if you look at the works of Voltaire, they would fill a shelf across this room, and that guy was a hyper genius. And it used to be that being able to spit out perfect prose in French on any topic made you a genius. It's just not so useful today, right? The robots are going to do all the work. The cars are going to drive themselves. The AIs are going to draft 100-page legal documents. So when I say that, I don't mean don't work. I mean, if you work in a warehouse, use the forklift. If you own a warehouse, you probably want to create 100 robots that do all the work. And if you're in the business of creating content, maybe you want to be thinking about how I harness the AIs to create better content and distribute it better. Yeah, these things are 1,000,000 times more productive. Like when I'm doing work, I go to the AI and I'm like, I want to do this and I want to do it this way. Blah, 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 blah. I said, well, what about this? Da, 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 da. Then I say, well, the lawyers told me I couldn't do it. Da, 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 da. How do I explain that? Are they right? Da, 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 da. And then I say, draft me a briefing so I can explain to my team why this makes sense. Da, 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 da. Make it a little bit more elaborate. And I get 25-page document, and then I send it. I say, this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're going to do it. And I could also just go back to law school. But the point is really, I could go back to law school and I would be 1/10 as effective in a decade after spending $1 million, or I could humble myself and ask the AI for help, and it gives me the answer in 2 minutes. And so everybody ought to be thinking, how do I use technology? Digital technology, digital assets, digital capital, digital intelligence, digital media, digital something to create a product or a service your parents didn't have, they couldn't create. Nobody imagined it back then. It's only possible now, but it's 100 times or 1,000 times better than the stuff we used to use. And that's the way to think if you want to get ahead. Because in general, the AIs are demonetizing labor. It's like, people used to work in farms pulling plows or something, right? It's like they just won't, right? I mean, all of the things that people used to do, we're just not going to do them anymore. So figure out what we didn't used to do that you can do now that has value to the civilization. Almost certainly it's with tools that didn't exist 20 years ago. Conventional wisdom will be, don't do it. We didn't do it. We don't do it that way. We never did it like that. That's conventional wisdom. If you want to be successful, then you have to break conventional wisdom. You have to think for yourself. You have to be an innovator and creative. And the world's full of examples of people that are doing that. You see Elon Musk rethinking things, rethinking the auto industry. You see lots of people. You see Palmer Luckey, think different, right? And the way you'll know they think different is they invent some cool new thing that no one ever showed you before, and then you try it and it works. And so we're going to see more and more of that. That's the secret.